What's up, everybody? Welcome to Move the Sticks, presented by Castrol Edge. Daniel Jeremiah, joined by my partner, Bucky Brooks. Bucky, how you doing, man?
Man, I'm great, man. Pro days are always fun because we get a chance to see some of the top prospects doing what they do on the turf.
Yeah, look, I'm looking forward to this conversation. Hopefully you guys enjoyed as much as we do. Again, you can catch us on the podcast, NFL.com/podcast. You can also find all of our video content, NFL.com/MTS video. All right, Buck, we got a big show today. Tell everybody what's coming up.
Man, look, it's a really exciting day because we're going to talk about Pro Day winners, the guys that showed up and showed out at Pro Days. We're also going to talk about some of the top wide receivers to watch, bunch of pass catchers in this class that are really, really impressive. And finally, we are going to have a discussion one-on-one. Caleb Farley, I think you had a chance to catch up with the Virginia Tech standout.
Looking forward to that conversation as well. Meanwhile, a very big day coming up tomorrow because we have got a treat for you. A Path to the Draft Pro Day special. LSU, Florida, Notre Dame, all hosting their player showcases. You don't want to miss future stars like Jamar Chase, Kyle Pitts, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, one of the best linebackers in the draft, putting on a show. So look forward to that. Coverage begins tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern on NFL Network. As the draft inches closer, we got a pretty good idea, Buck, who's going to go number one. I think we feel secure about that, right? We're looking at Trevor Lawrence being the first overall pick, the quarterback out of Clemson. It looks like from kind of the beginning of the season, before the season started, things were looking in that direction. And Urban Meyer all but answered that question the other day, saying he's going to be a Jacksonville Jaguar.
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to be a Jacksonville Jaguar because he fits exactly what they're looking for. The Jaguars need a franchise quarterback, one who has all the tools that you look for on the field. Outstanding arm talent, great leadership ability, high football IQ, athleticism, the ability to put the team on his back if needed. But also, this team needs some energy. And what Trevor Lawrence is going to do for that Jacksonville fan base, he's going to energize them by giving them hope. It's going to make an optimistic view in Jacksonville. That's why I believe he is the unanimous choice to be the number one overall pick.
And we're watching him from the Pro Day here, which is a really solid session. You see the weight on the screen at 213 pounds. Look, he's going to play at 230. He wasn't able to really lift because of that left shoulder injury. That's why you see the weight where it is. But you see the big old hands. Thought he threw the ball well, moved around really well at that Pro Day. With Urban Meyer, what do you think, Buck? About 3 feet away from him the entire workout that day?
Yeah, he certainly was already claiming squatters' rights on Trevor Lawrence by being so close. But I think he wanted to get an up-close look at the quarterback while also putting a little pressure on him to see how he would perform. It is part one of the process in terms of building Trevor Lawrence up to be the Jaguars' QB1.
Well, this is the time of the year. I think a lot of people from the East Coast, they might travel to Utah to go skiing. The Jets, their general manager, Joe Douglas, their head coach, Robert Saleh, they went to Utah looking for a quarterback, and I think they might have found their guy with Zach Wilson. And to me, one of the more fun pro days that I can remember in terms of the creativity that we saw with all the movement throws. You see the numbers there on the bottom of the screen. Size-wise, you have to be pleased with that. With some expectation, he might be a little bit smaller. But, Buck, that was as fun a throwing session as I can remember.
Yeah, he had a lot of fun with it. He really wanted to show off his ability to throw from various platforms. Also, he wanted to show how easy it was for him as a passer. We talk about it over and over. One of the more natural pocket passers that we've seen. And even though he can take his game outside of the pocket, when he plays in rhythm from the pocket, he's one of the best that we've seen in terms of getting the ball out of his hands and throwing what we would consider a very catchable ball, one that's easy to take in from the wide receivers.
Well, as impressive as his throwing session was, that wasn't the big story in the NFL last Friday. It was what happened while this pro day was getting ready to get started. That was a big trade that took place between the San Francisco 49ers and the Miami Dolphins, which gets us right to our next-gen stats powered by Amazon Web Services. Look, we assume this is for a quarterback, and here's a pretty good example of that, because let's look at the air yards per attempt since 2017, minimum 800 attempts there. That number is low there for Jimmy Garoppolo and this 49ers offense. You got to believe, Buck, they want to be more explosive. They part with a lot of future draft capital to move up in this draft to get their guy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is all about Kyle Shanahan looking for an upgrade at the position. We're seeing increasingly coordinators, head coaches are growing tired and frustrated with guys who can't make their plays come to life. And so I think some of this has to do with Jimmy Garoppolo being unable to make Kyle Shanahan's vision of how the game should be played come to life. We've talked about it. Kyle Shanahan plays it like it's a video game, and he wants the quarterback to be a joystick. Sometimes the joystick gets stuck when Jimmy Garoppolo is the one that is the joystick. I think he wants someone who is just able to make this stuff happen. And so we're going to see if he can play the game through the eyes of the quarterback, with the quarterback being a functional joystick.
Well, you mentioned that joystick. The joystick's been broken too much. The joystick's missed too much time. All right, who do you like here? You make this move, and you got to make a call here. What do you think? Not what you would do, but what do you think that the Niners are going to do here at 3?
I think the Niners are fascinated and captivated by Mac Jones. Mac Jones is very, very impressive when you have an opportunity to sit down with him and talk to him. When you watch how he processes things and goes from the board to the field, he can spit it out exactly the way coaches want it communicated. And so I think Kyle Shanahan sees Mac Jones as a higher-end joystick, one who understands the offense, understands how to get through all the progressions from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to utilize the entire field. And so it expands the playbook for Kyle Shanahan because he says someone at QB1 who knows how to go through the process of getting through all the reads.
Yeah, I think to me, he wants to be able to find the one-on-one matchups that he's designed through the play call to identify the proper matchup, then deliver the ball accurately. It seems to be that's why we're hearing so much buzz about Mac Jones potentially being that pick there at number 3. I think, though, if you gave us truth serum about which direction we go, we would say it would probably come down to 2 other quarterbacks we've seen work out through this pro day session. We saw Mac Jones have 2 pro days. I thought the second one was better than the first. But when you look at Justin Fields and what he did at Ohio State, and you look at Trey Lance and what he did at North Dakota State, and you just see the skill set that they possess, the athleticism, the ability to extend plays, make things happen. To me, when it first happened, I thought, okay, this points to them wanting someone like that, someone like they've seen up close in a Super Bowl with a Patrick Mahomes. Now, I'm not putting Fields and Trey Lance in the class of Mahomes and what we've seen in the NFL, but stylistically, there's similarities on schedule, off schedule, their ability to make you right even when you might not be right, Buck.
Yeah, no, I think there's something to that, DJ. A lot of people will try and connect the dots and say that because Kyle Shanahan has had success with Kirk Cousins and Matt Schaub as a play caller, that's what he's looking for. But I would suggest that this team, this system won Super Bowls when you had guys like John Elway and Steve Young at the controls. Part of that is due to their athleticism, Hall of Fame talents, guys who are 5-tool players at the position. They have the athleticism and the arm talent to be able to make every throw in the book. And if they can't make the throw, they can run them around and either buy time or pick up first downs with their feet. And when I look at Trey Lance and Justin Fields, both of those guys have that ability. And I just think it would be so much fun for Kyle Shanahan to really get in the lab and let his imagination go wild with either Lance or Fields as his QB1. I think that would be the way to happen, particularly after you give up all those picks.
Yeah, both those guys really, really power the football at their pro days. You see the size that they bring to the table as well as the athleticism. That was evidence when we watched them work out. All right, Buck, we've talked about kind of these top quarterbacks and what could take place here in the top 3 picks. Let's go outside that from the pro day circuit. Why don't you give me a name outside the first round guys, a quarterback that maybe helped himself here in a pro day?
How about the Senior Bowl MVP, Kellen Mond? Kellen Mond is someone who is is on the rise. He's on the rise because the more that you study his game, the more that you like about the fact that he's an experienced player making his way into the National Football League. He played in Jimbo Fisher's offense, which was different than the way that he played previously. So he became a little more adept at reading coverage, a little more adept at managing the game from the position. And because he still offers the athleticism, I think there are people that are going to find value in having Kellen Mond as a potential pick that comes off the board on day 2. This is a guy that has a lot of talent. It's a guy that's beginning to really showcase it. And I thought he showed it well at his pro day.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. I feel like he's been at A&M for 10 years. My guy, Davis Mills, only started 11 games at Stanford. But I thought the pro day performance he had in the rain outside up there in Palo Alto was really impressive. play with that bulky knee brace. He's had those knee injuries in the past. No knee brace here at the pro day. We saw him move around. The ball was cutting through a very big wind that they had up there in the Bay Area on that afternoon. He ran well. To me, just an overall impressive performance from Davis Mills. Maybe somebody that was a little bit off of the radar outside people's minds because he just hadn't played as much. This was a reminder to the guy you knew in high school as one of the highest recruited quarterbacks in the country.
Absolutely. One of the top quarterbacks coming out in his recruiting class. And I think the talent is there on display. We can talk about the 11 starts at Stanford, but it's the talent. And not only the arm talent, the athleticism. You talk about a guy that ran sub 4.6 in the 40. You saw the athletic movements and those things. And we can talk about the knee injuries and the like, but he's a different player. And I think that pedigree certainly makes him a guy that you have to entertain in that conversation on day two.
No doubt. Well, there you have it. That was Next Gen Stats powered by Amazon Web Services.
Still to come on Move the Sticks, Caleb Farley discusses his journey from learning a new position to preparing for the pros.
Every time I step on the field, I'm trying to earn everybody's respect. So I'm just going to go out there and we'll see. We'll see.
It's time for Be Prepared, presented by Castrol Edge. In order to better prepare himself for the upcoming NFL draft, Virginia Tech corner Caleb Farley opted to undergo an outpatient back procedure, thus missing out on his pro day. While Farley is expected to be back on the field in time for training camp, he's not letting this minor setback get him down. I had a chance to speak with the future first rounder about his journey to the draft. I want to go to your kind of football beginning in terms of when you started playing the position and what other positions you might have played growing up. Because to me, a lot of times you have instincts like yours. I have an idea that you might have played some other positions growing up.
Yeah, I definitely always been a football player my whole life. Halloween, 6 years old, 7 years old, 8 years old, I was always a football player. So actually, I never played corner until Florida State, until my first college game. But I was always a offensive dude. I always had an offensive mentality. Quarterback, running back. I used to be a lot shorter, quicker. I always had the mentality to make them miss and use my speed. So the defensive side of the ball really did not come natural to me. It was a huge transition, bigger than a lot of people would think.
One of the favorite games for me to watch was your Miami game because you see a lot of good in there, some things you can improve on. But I want you to walk me through the red zone interceptions there. Walk me through that one. What did you remember about that in terms of the coverage you were in, the leverage, and how you made the plays you made?
I was basically just in man coverage, and I actually made probably, I guess, technically the wrong decision because his split was so far on the inside, and I aligned even right before the snap. I stepped inside, but I was thinking, the guy I was guarding, he wasn't really faster than me. Like, he couldn't run away from me, and I didn't think he was quicker than me neither. So I expected him to go outside just off of the split. But I didn't want him to like give me like a move to make me jump inside. So I kind of just stepped there right before the snap of the ball, and he did what I wanted him to do. He just declared early. It just made him declare, and then I just tried to undercut it and just try to out-quick him.
What have you been working on in training? What's your area of focus you've been trying to get ready? How are you kind of pacing yourself through that process, and what are you focusing on?
Yeah, since I haven't played DB all my life, I've been installing the fundamentals. I'm making sure my brain and my feet are on cue. How to move, how to be an efficient mover. Make sure my steps are sharp, and I just been installing the fundamentals of playing corner and how I should be thinking, and install all of these basic footwork, like these basic drills and stuff like that.
Oh, that's great, man. In terms of guys you've watched or been a fan of, is there any corner in particular that that's your guy that you've studied growing up?
I mean, I'm a big Jalen Ramsey fan, and I know he hasn't been in the league long, but I mean, he's just a dog. Like, if I could pick anybody to play corner, like, it would be Jalen Ramsey, because he's big, he's long, and he just plays with that mentality that nobody can stop him.
Last question here, man. You've been very generous with your time. I appreciate it. When we get to your rookie season, let's fast forward. We get to the end of your rookie season.
Okay.
For you to say that was a success, what needs to happen in your rookie year?
That's a damn good question. I need to start thinking about that more. But I would say after my rookie season, I don't really want it to be like a grace period, like another green period, kind of like my freshman year in college, like learning the position. I'm comfortable. I feel like I can go play the position good, just as good as anybody else. So after my rookie season, I would love to be acknowledged as somebody not to play with. I don't want to say I'm gonna have it all together my rookie season, but I would definitely like to be respected by my peers, by coaches, and every time I step on the field, I'm trying to earn everybody's respect. So I'm just gonna go out there and we'll see.
I love it, man. That's a great answer. I mean, I appreciate your time today, Caleb. That was awesome.
I appreciate you.
There you have it. That was Be Prepared, presented by Castrol Edge. Fun guy to talk to there in Caleb Farley as we look at his scouting report. And to me, look, the size, the length, the speed, that is obvious. You see that. The instincts, the ball skills, you fall in love with all of it. In terms of the negatives, okay, he'll fall off a tackle here or there. And obviously the current situation, having had this back procedure recently, the durability will come into question a little bit there. But Buck, man, this is a fun player to study.
Yeah, fun player to study because it's hard to find big corners that can do a lot on the perimeter. Here we see Caleb Farley coming downhill, being able to make tackles on the edge. And we see these teams like the Baltimore Ravens doing their pitch. They love to run the football. You need to be able to get these guys down to the ground. But what Caleb Farley really does, press man-to-man, puts his hands on guys at the line, disrupts their release, has the speed to run with them down the field. And so you love that. But what I love about corners that have versatility, meaning they have the ability to play up, off, they display instincts and ball skills. Caleb Farley does all of that. And in that interview, he talked about his ability to be a different playmaker because he played other positions. You see that with the ball skills. He is a playmaker, a weapon on defense, someone who I think on defense can find a way to put points on the board for the team.
Yeah, no doubt. And unfortunately, didn't get a chance to have the pro day coming off that back procedure. But a couple guys who did have pro days at the corner position and put on shows. First of all, J.C. Horn from South Carolina, Buck. Somebody that I think is going to be a top 20 pick. And, man, did he look good moving around, running at that Gamecock pro day.
Man, he is fantastic. Just an explosive athlete, dynamic in his movement skills, does a great job of taking those same movement skills and athleticism and putting them into practice as a DB. He's one of the best man-to-man corners in this draft class, an explosive athlete who could be a dynamite playmaker on an elite defense.
Yeah, I remember that pro day was on the heels of the Alabama pro day, and J.C. Horn wanted to best the numbers from Patrick Surtain because Patrick Surtain had a phenomenal workout, and kudos to J.C. Horn. He ended up beating those numbers by just a smidge. But here we have a look at Patrick Surtain II and what he did with the 39 vert to go along with the low 4.40 at that size. It's hard to find big corners like this that can move, find, and play the football. It is a very impressive class with these corners all jostling to be the first corner off the board. So those are the big name guys, Buck, and we knew about them coming into the pro days. How about somebody outside that group that impressed you with what they did?
Well, another name to watch in the first round would be Greg Newsome from Northwestern. This is another in the line of big corners, big, athletic, physical, has a deep and vast toolbox. He also can press and play off and bail. He has great instincts and awareness in man and zone. And there you see him, 6 foot, 192, 40-inch vertical, 4.38, 40 time. You can put him in any scheme, and that's what I like about his game. Is really, really scheme friendly when it comes to defensive coordinators trying to figure out how to best utilize his talents.
Well, we've talked about all the power forwards. How about some point guards here? Let's go to Asante Samuel Jr., who I thought really answered any questions anybody could have had about his speed and burst when you went to look at his pro day there at Florida State. The numbers in the mid 4.4s, outstanding, because if we're just talking instincts, you know it's a hand-me-down, right? Because you saw his dad, Asante Samuel, has some of the best ball skills we've seen in the NFL. That was definitely passed down to his son, who's a really, really good football player. I think it's going to probably go early second round, but answered any questions again on the speed with that performance. All right, Buck, we've hit the corners. Let's switch it over to the other side here, to the offensive side with the wideouts. I know Alabama, we didn't get to see much of those guys at the pro days, but man, Devontae Smith, I know teams going down there for the pro day, at least going to check him out, at least get a chance to visit with a special player.
Yeah, very special player. The Heisman Trophy winner is a very, very special college player. He is someone who is super smooth as a route runner. And I think sometimes he is so smooth as a route runner that you question how fast he is. You don't see guys who are his size who are kind of like these long striders. But what he has the ability to do is sink his weight, drop his hips, get in and out of his breaks, create consistent separation. And for a guy who's only 170 pounds, he is as tough as nails when he ventures across the middle of the field.
Yeah, I see him run some routes there at that second Mac Jones pro day. It was nice to see him move around. To me, a fun player to study. His teammate might be more fun to study, Jalen Waddle. Didn't get a chance to see him do anything at the pro day, still recovering there from that ankle. But you saw the numbers in only 5 games. He was on pace for a monster season, was actually outpacing his teammate who would go on to win the Heisman Trophy. But Jalen Waddle, if he can show that he is healthy, Buck, and he's going to be fine by training camp, I envision he's not going to have to wait very long.
No, I don't think he's going to have to wait very long because what he is he is terrific with the ball in his hands. And I don't know if he's the most polished or precise route runner, but what he is a dynamic playmaker. And with those guys, and we've seen in recent years, the Deebo Samuels, the Brandon Ayuks of the world, when they get the ball in their hands in space, they can make the magic happen. And when I look at Jalen Waddle, his ability to make big plays after the catch will excite teams, particularly those that use the West Coast offense and want their guys to be catch and run specialists.
No doubt. How about some guys maybe outside the first round that caught your eye with what they did at Pro Day?
How about Amon-Ra St. Brown? When I think about Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think about him being the classic slot receiver because he's a guy that is a terrific route runner. He does a great job of creating separation at the top of his routes. He is an easy catcher, meaning it doesn't matter where the ball is, inside or outside the strike zone, he is going to make the play. And there you just saw it, how easy and natural it is for him. I just have this vision of him playing 10 years in the league as a slot receiver that just gets open consistently, particularly on third down. Fantastic playmaker from USC.
How about your guy down there at North Carolina, Diami Brown? He catch your eye as well?
He did catch my eye, and the reason he caught my eye is because he's a big-time playmaker. His ability to get over the top of the defense really stands out. You talk about a guy that averaged over 20 yards per catch. Then you lay down 4 times. He's not a number one receiver, but in most offenses, he's a number two. You put him on the backside and let him go to work, he is going to eat up one-on-one coverage on the backside.
All right, you go with the big guys. I'm going to go down to Ole Miss, and I'm going to say Elijah Moore had one of the more impressive pro days of any wide receiver in this draft class. You see him launch himself out here on the broad jump, but just in terms of the shuttles, in terms of the quickness with the route running, you see it here. Man, just dynamic, such a fun player. Somebody that I think's got a chance to go early second round. Wouldn't be shocked if he snuck into the back end of round number one. And then another wideout, maybe doesn't have the most size, but is a ready-made slot, and that is Amari Rodgers, who we've seen at Clemson over the years. Just make play after play. Physical, strong. You just showed some clips there of Amon-Ra St. Brown from USC. I think there's some similarities between these two players, guys that are just built like running backs, but are going to be phenomenal slot wide receivers as soon as they enter the National Football League. But good players.
Yeah, really good players. And I look at Amari Rodgers, reminds me a lot of the kid that's at Washington with the Washington football team, Antonio Gibson. I think he has some versatility where you might be able to put him in the backfield and do some things, not only as a receiver, but maybe running on the edges and doing some creative stuff with him in the mind.
Well, once again, we said it the last couple of years. We say it again this year. You need a wide receiver. This draft has got you covered. Coming up next on Move the Sticks, we'll reveal our biggest winners from Pro Day. Welcome back to Move the Sticks, and this was one of the many lasting images from Pro Days this year. That's linebacker Micah Parsons at Penn State running an unofficial 4.39 40-yard dash. Are you kidding me? That is ridiculous for a linebacker. That's ridiculous for a wide receiver, much less a linebacker at that size. Just rolling there at Penn State. Made it look easy, too. That's not fair. All right, Buck, how about some winners here? We're looking for winners from Pro Days. Who do you got?
I mean, you just showed him. Michael Parsons definitely is a winner.
That's too easy.
Because when you look at, I mean, it's really easy, but DJ, remember this, the conversation heading to the Pro Day circuit wasn't about Michael Parsons. He had kind of fallen down the charts and out of sight, out of mind. But then when you see a guy at that size, 246 pounds, running 4.39, and then you watch him go through the bags, and then you pop on the tape and you remember how dynamic he is as a blitzer, how effective, how disruptive he is. You begin to have a vision for this guy doing some special things at the next level as a second-level defender. He is a very, very impressive prospect, and I think he kind of recreated some interest in his ability.
Yeah, his teammate Jason Owe had a big day too as well, running the 4.3s.
Oh,
Not
sure
not
did.
normal to see two defensive front seven guys running like that. Okay, I'm going to stay on the defensive side of the ball in the Big Ten, but I'm going to go to Michigan, and I'm going to go with Kwity Paye, who showed you the strength with what he did through the bench, and then you get out to the field. He rolled on his 40. Again, 36 on the bench at 261 pounds, and then running a 4.52. Ended up pulling up a little bit, didn't get to finish the entire workout. But the explosiveness that you saw on tape, it matched up with what we saw in this pro day there at Michigan.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a junkyard dog. First step quickness, burst, nonstop motor, very relentless in his pursuit of the quarterback. Teams that are looking for one of those kind of competitors on the edge, meaning a guy that is going to go after it from snap to whistle. Kwity Paye is a guy that you certainly have to keep in mind.
All right, it was a big time workout. We talked about some defensive guys. Buck, your next one, though, your next winner, I think might have had the most impressive pro day of anybody during this cycle.
Yeah, Jalen Phillips. Jalen Phillips really
Yes.
blew the doors off the workout. And, the funny thing is the narrative about Jalen Phillips coming into it, hey, he's a great technician, does a great job using his hands, he has all the tricks. But then you see the explosiveness. 4.56 in the 40 at 266 pounds, and you watch him move around. DJ, it changes maybe how you perceive him at the next level, because I love the polish and the finish that he displayed on film. Now you're finding out that you're getting maybe a better athlete than anticipated. Oh, he boosted his stock as a top prospect for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's the most talented edge rusher in the class. I think when you pop on the tape and watch him, he looks different than all these guys. You got to navigate around some of the injury things and other issues. That could be the only thing that could hang him up. I think back to Montez Sweat. Remember, there was some medical questions about him coming
Yeah.
out. He ended up falling a little bit, and the Washington football team got a heck of a player. So we'll see what happens there with Jalen Phillips, but a special player. I'll go to the offensive line for my last one. I'm going to go to Northwestern. My top offensive lineman in this draft class, and that's Rashawn Slater.
Mm-hmm.
Opted out, and much as Micah Parsons. We hadn't seen him in a while, so wanted to see how he moved around. And there you have it, 4.88, which is a phenomenal time for an offensive lineman. Now, he's not the longest guy in the world. Does he stay a tackle, or do you kick him inside? I really do believe he could play any of the 5 positions up front. I think he can play them well. If you're a team in need of an offensive lineman the first half of the first round, I think Rashawn Slater, Buck, is going to be very appealing.
Yeah, he's really appealing. He's really appealing because he's a guy that can play multiple spots along the offensive line. You see the workout, you see the athleticism, how easy he is as a mover. I can see this guy playing in any system on the line of scrimmage.
Those are just a few of the winners from Pro Days. Again, no NFL scouting combine this year, so the Pro Days had added significance, and those are just a few that really, really helped themselves. All right, welcome back to Move the Sticks, presented by Castro Ledge. DJ Bucky back with you. Buck, when we look at the news that just came down, a 17th game has been added to the NFL schedule. What's your first reaction here?
I mean, I think now what I love about the season is there are winners and losers. No more 500 records. You either win or you lose. And so that should be funny. But I think last year we saw a lot of excitement about the extra playoff teams that were added to the mix. It changed the dynamic a little bit. Only one team getting a bye. Now you add another game. From a strategic standpoint, how do you play out the end of the season when it becomes critical? I like it. I think the intrigue is going to be good for the league.
Well, I think there's going to be a little added pressure on some of the young guys here. You lose a preseason game as part of this, right? So now only 3 preseason games to go along with the 17 regular season games. So let's see if these young guys battling for roster spots, and man, they're going to have to show up ready to go at training camp and ball out here in these 3 preseason opportunities they're going to have. But I think this is great. It's great from a fan's perspective. You lose a preseason game and you gain a valuable, meaningful regular season game. And we've got some great matchups that we're going to see. And then you add into it the international impact it's going to have with every team in the National Football League playing at least one game every 8 years internationally. It's going to help grow the game there as well. So to me, the big winner in this is us, right? If you love football, you're going to get more of it and you're going to get more meaningful football, which, Buck, to me, I think is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited. You have to like the way the league is going because the expanded playoffs, the expanded regular season just means more football all the time.
No doubt. Well, look, this has been a fun show. We appreciate all of you hanging with us today. We're getting a little bit closer to the draft. It's inside a month. We're going to be in Cleveland before you know it, and we cannot wait. That's going to do it for us today. He's Bucky Brooks. I'm Daniel Jeremiah. Thanks for watching Move the Sticks, presented by Castro Ledge.